Now, first thing I want to share you the textbook from textbook. Today we are reading the page number 118. Okay, first I will share you the textbook. Okay, is the textbook visible? So today we are moving on to page number 118. So do you all remember what we have learned previously? Okay, so today we are going to talk about who could enter temples, because this is a reform or this is a change in caste system also, where reformers wanted to work towards these changes. Now we have learned that for the lower
Excuse
class
me,
there
ma'am.
was a lot of discrimination. Yeah, who is there? Who could enter temples? So this way, you know that how lower class was discriminated in those days. Still, those practices are there, do exist in some part of India, but reformer have tried to abolish these practices. So here we are going to learn about how Dr. B.R. Ambedkar he started a movement and he made a change and he made it possible for the lower class to get the entry into the temples which was prohibited earlier. Okay, so Ambedkar was born into a Mahar family. As a child, he experienced what caste prejudice meant in everyday life. He has experienced those. In school, he was forced to sit outside the classroom on the ground and was not allowed to drink water from taps that upper caste children used. Okay, so this was the discrimination, what problems he faced when he was in school. So, how that caste prejudice was. Okay, after finishing school, he got a fellowship to go to the US for higher studies. On his return to India in 1990, he wrote extensively about upper caste power in contemporary society. In 1927, Ambedkar started a temple entry movement in which his Mahar caste followers participated. Brahman priests were outraged when the Dalits used water from the temple tank. Ambedkar had three such movements from temple entry between 1927 and 1935. His aim was to make everyone see the power of caste prejudices within the society. So, this was his main aim, to give the opportunity to the lower class to enter into the temples and to see everyone the power of caste prejudice within the society, because he himself faced so many problems when he was a child, when was he was in school. Okay, this is the content. Based on this content, there are PPTs. Now I'm going to share you those PPTs. Okay. Now who could enter temples? So you have to read from the second paragraph on page number 118 till the end of the page number 118 that we have read already. Okay. So to make you understand in easier words, there are some slides which will clear all your doubts and will keep make you understand it again. So, who could enter temples? Dr. Ambedkar is a great example of how personal experience of oppression and exposure to new thoughts can give birth to a reformers, because his own experience where he was oppressed and he was exposed to new thoughts can give birth to a reformer. He came to know about the new ideas, new changes. So that way he also made him to change, to bring out the changes in the society. In school, Dr. Ambedkar had to sit outside the class because he was from a lower caste. He was not allowed to drink water from the same tap as the other children who were from the upper caste. So, this was the discrimination he experienced. He worked hard and got a fellowship from an American university. His experience and exposure led to many reform movements. One such movement was the temple entry movement. The lower caste were not allowed to enter the premises of temples. Dr. Ambedkar led groups of lower caste people, that is Mahar, to draw water from the temple tank. Like Dr. Ambedkar, many people from lower caste gain education, wealth, and influence. Because of education, they got good jobs, so they have wealth now, and they have influenced means they have given some prestige in the society, or they are becoming little bit powerful people or important people. They challenge the Brahmins and their powers. Kings and emperors were already losing power to the British. कारण ब्रिटिश काय करत होते तर एक एक टेरिटरी कॅप्चर करत जात होते. They were annexing those territories that we have learned in the unit 4 of standard 7, trade to territory and ruling the countryside, how the Britishers were capturing the territories. That all we have learned. Now I am moving on to the next part of the top lesson, and it is the last topic from the lesson, the non-Brahman movement. So for that we are going to read from page number 119 till the end of the page number 120. Now I am going to share you the textbook. Okay. So the last part of the lesson that we are going to talk about now. Okay. We have learned this who could enter temples. Now the non-Brahman movement. In the early 20th century, the non-Brahman movement started. The initiative came from those non-Brahman castes that had acquired access to education, wealth, and influence. Because of education, they are wealthy people, they were wealthy people, and they were influential people also. They argued that Brahmins were heirs of Aryan invaders from the north who had conquered southern lands from the original inhabitants of the region, the indigenous Dravidian races. They also challenged Brahmanical claims to power. म्हणजे हे जे नॉन ब्राह्मण लोक होते सोसायटीमधले की ज्यांना एज्युकेशनचं फॅसिलिटी मिळाली, ॲक्सेस मिळाला, एज्युकेशन मिळाल्यामुळे त्यांना जॉब मिळाला आणि they became influential. They started thinking about the discrimination. They started talking about these practices. So what was their belief? त्यांचा बिलीफ काय होता की ब्राह्मण्स कोण आहेत तर ते आर्यन्स आहेत. आर्यन्स युरोपातून आलेले जसं मी आधी सांगितलं होतं अँड दे वेर द इन्व्हेडर्स. त्यांनी येऊन अटॅक केला आपल्यावर. And that is why they started treating the native people or the local people as lower caste. So this was their belief against which they wanted to start a movement and against which they wanted to raise the voice and change the practices in the society. Now one such reformer now we are going to talk about from the south is E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar or Periyar. He is well known by the another name as Periyar, as he was called, came from a middle class family. Interestingly, he had been an ascetic in his early life and had studied Sanskrit scriptures carefully. Later he became a member of the Congress, only to leave it in disgust when he found that at feast organized by nationalists, sitting arrangements followed caste distinctions, that is, the lower caste were made to sit at a distance from the upper caste. So here what was his experience and which just shook him, and he started taking part in movements and reforms. So that event was where he was shaken. That was his participation in the Congress. And in a party organized by that Congress, he was made to sit differently only because he is from the lower caste. So here he found it very oppressive. He was against this, where the sitting arrangement for the lower class was different than the upper caste. Convinced that untouchables had to fight for their dignity, पेरियार फाउंडेड द सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट मुवमेंट. कारण त्यांच्या सेल्फ रिस्पेक्टला इथे धक्का गेला, कारण त्यांना वेगळं बसवण्यात आलं. त्याच्यामुळे त्यांनी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट मुवमेंट ही स्टार्टेड. He argued that untouchables were the true upholders of the original Tamil and Dravidian culture, which had been subjugated by Brahmins. He felt that all religious authorities saw social divisions and inequality as God given. Untouchables had to free themselves, therefore, from all religions in order to achieve social equality. So, that was the main event where changed that thought, beliefs of Dr. Periyar, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar or Periyar. So, the second last paragraph on the same page. Periyar was an outspoken critic of Hindu scriptures, especially the codes of Manu, the ancient lawgiver, and Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. Means we know that all these are our holy books in which the uh, practices or the way how people should live is mentioned. So he was against all these Hindu scriptures. He was talking it out, he was outspoken about this. He said that these texts had been used to establish the authority of Brahmins over lower caste and the domination of men over women. He was believing that. त्यांना असं वाटत होतं की भगवद्गीता, रामायण हे जे आपले सगळे एन्शंट टेक्स्ट होते, these texts were supporting for Brahmins. They were not supporting the lower caste and the domination of men over women. So this was his one more belief, and he experienced that in the Congress meeting. These assertions did not go unchallenged. Now, what is in assertion means? Assertion means his fixed opinion. त्यांचं हे फिक्स्ड ओपिनियन झालं होतं because he has referred the Hindu scriptures. The forceful speeches, writings, and moments of lower caste leaders did lead to rethinking and some self-criticism among upper caste nationalist leaders. But Orthodox Hindu society also reacted by founding Sanatan Dharma Sabhas and the Bharat Dharma Mahamandala in the north, and association like Brahman Sabha in Bengal. The object of these associations was to uphold caste distinctions as a cornerstone of Hinduism and show how this was sanctified by scriptures. Debates and struggles over caste continued beyond the colonial period and are still going on in our own times. अजूनही आपल्याकडे या practices चालू आहेत. Though these reformers had worked very hard towards the changes, but still we have not achieved our goal. We are not yet 100% successful. Okay, so this is all about the reformers, the changes, the movements, what they started in society towards changes in woman life, toward changes in the lower caste people life. This all we talked in this lesson. Okay, now on the page number 120, which is the last page of this topic, they have given us, they have shown us the pictures, and those these are reformers and in which field they have worked towards. So you have to learn this, you have to read all these reformers and the moments they started. That will be helpful for you to understand the topic more. Okay, so, for example, if I talk about the Brahmo Samaj, you know who founded the Brahmo Samaj. It was mentioned in the first page of this chapter. The Brahmo Samaj, formed in 1830, prohibited all forms of adultery and sacrifice, believed in Upanishads, and forbade its members from criticizing other religious practices. It critically drew upon the ideals of religions, especially of Hinduism and Christianity, looking at their negative and positive dimensions. So you have to read one by one about it. Okay. Here we complete the topic woman, caste and reform. I will be starting the next lesson in the next lecture. Okay. Now I want to show you the PPTs based on the content what we just read. Now, non-Brahman movement. E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar was one such reformer in the South. As you would recall, he shared ज्योतिराव फुले's idea. ज्योतिराव फुलेंची आयडिया लक्षात आहेत ना, आपण आता पॅरेग्राफ मध्ये पण वाचलं. ई व्ही रामास्वामींचं पण आयडिओलॉजी आणि ज्योतिराव फुलेंची पण आयडिओलॉजी सेम होती. त्यांना काय वाटत होतं की आर्यन्स हे इन्व्हेडर्स आहेत, त्यांनी येऊन आमच्यावर अटॅक केला आणि ज्यांच्यावर अटॅक केला त्या लोकांना त्यांनी लोअर कास्ट म्हणून ट्रीट करायला सुरुवात केली. ऍक्च्युली ते लोअर कास्ट ॲज अ लोअर कास्ट म्हणून ते बॉर्न झालेले नव्हते. So this was the similar ideology what Jyotirao Phule and E.V. Ramaswamy were believing in. Okay. Like Jyotiba, Naikar believed the upper caste would continue to suppress lower caste after the British. He experienced this at a Congress meeting. So this was the, you can say, the event which just shook him up. People from upper caste were seated separately from those that belonged to the lower caste. Brahmins were invaders, Aryans outsiders who oppressed indigenous Dravidans. Dravidans म्हणजे जे साऊथमध्ये होते ते. All religions had social divisions as the base, and the social reform needed freedom from the religion. Of course, these movements met opposition. ऑफकोर्स आपण जे कुठलीही मोमेंट स्टार्ट केली तरी त्याला सोसायटीमधनं अपोजिशन असणारच आहे. आता ई.व्ही. रामास्वामी नायकर हे लोअर क्लास मधले होते आणि ते अप्पर क्लासच्या अगेन्स्ट फाईट करत होते. जेव्हा त्यांनी प्रोटेस्ट किंवा मुवमेंट स्टार्ट केली तर त्यांना विरोध आता कुणाकडनं होता? त्यांना परत विरोध होता अप्पर कास्टकडनं. Unfortunately, we are still fighting from the some of these reforms socially, even if they have found legal backing. याचं एक उदाहरण तुम्हाला आता आपल्याकडे जो लॉ पास झाला मागच्या वर्षी, तलाक सिस्टीम जी मुस्लिमांकडे होती की तीनदा तलाक म्हटलं की त्यांच्या तलाक मिळायचा एका बाईला, तर त्याच्या अगेन्स्ट आपल्या लॉनीच आता सपोर्ट केलेले की असं आता हे पॉसिबल नाही. तरी सुद्धा आपण म्हणणार नाही की हे 100% अचीव्ह झालेलं आहे आपल्या सोसायटीत. सो दिस इज द example what they have told in the next point. Unfortunately, we are still fighting for some of these reforms socially, even if they have found legal backing. अजूनही आपण जसं ह्या लेसन मध्ये we learn girls were now given the opportunity to go to school, but if you go to some part of India, for example Bihar or Rajasthan, girls were not giving those opportunities. They can't enter the school. They might go to school till grade 6 or grade 7, but after that they are supposed to work for the domestic purposes. Still these practices are there existing in India. Another thing we learn about the child marriage, which was banned in India. By legally also it is banned, but still these practices do occur. Why these practices still do occur in our society? Though it is legally banned, still in some part of India these practices do occur. कारण ह्याचं कारण एक काय असणार आहे, मेन कारण these people are not aware of the changes in the society. This is the main first reason. Another reason, they are not ready to accept the changes because these practices do occur since generations, since many years. So they were believing, strongly believing in those only. They are not ready to accept the changes. So these are the two reasons, and they are not educated also, because educated people might think from all angles. That way, uneducated people, they have fixed mindset. So this is still the problem in our society, where after all these changes, all these reforms, still these barbaric practices do occur. Okay. Across the world, the 18th and 19th century saw a lot of rebel from the group being oppressed. Europeans reached far and wide across the earth. म्हणजे युरोपियन्स ब्रिटिशांनी किती देशावर राज्य केलं आणि त्यांचं this ruling of this British expanded over a year throughout the world. Okay, so that is why they said Europeans reached far and wide across the earth. They ruled areas that conquered and oppressed the natives from that land. In fact, they began human trade. ह्युमन ट्रेड म्हणजे स्लेव्हरीज, आपण ते पण शिकलेलो आहोत की त्यांना स्लेव्ह म्हणून कसं, किंवा ॲज अ labors, how they were sent to the different parts. That also we have seen in this lesson. Humans from Africa, India, etc., were taken from their native lands and sold to European traders and planters. जिकडे त्यांना टी प्लांटेशन करायचं होतं, कॉटन प्लांटेशन करायचं होतं, पण त्यांना लेबर्स मिळत नव्हते, तर लेबर्स त्यांनी कुठून हायर करायला सुरुवात केली? आफ्रिका आणि इंडियावरून. ओके. The slaves were treated as such. They were worked hard and punished for not working hard. This inevitably led to rebel from the oppressed group. हे पण आपण शिकलेलं in grade 7 in the unit 4. Okay. The oppressed group found supporters in some part of the rulers too. America saw a revolution which led to the abolishment of slavery in 1776. So these are the changes slowly occurring.
If you like our videos, do share them and subscribe to our channel. If you want awesome quizzes, write to us. Keep watching and keep learning with Walnut.